What if the sharpest mind wasn't the loudest in the room, but the calmest? What if the most dangerous person you knew wasn't aggressive or flashy or constantly grinding, but still unshaken, focused, watching? Here's the truth no one tells you. Most people are sprinting through life with no idea where they're going, reacting, overthinking, burning out, chasing power in noise, when the real edge is found in silence. Because real strength, it doesn't slam doors or bark orders. It radiates from within, from stillness, from clarity, from the kind of control that doesn't need to prove itself. This is the brain hack they don't teach in school. Master your mind before it masters you, not by moving faster, but by learning to stand still while the rest of the world spins. The myth of speed versus the power of stillness. We live in a world that celebrates speed. Move fast, speak up, stay ahead. That's the message we've been fed since we were kids. If you pause, you'll fall behind. If you wait, you'll lose. So we rush. We race through our days, scrolling, swiping, multitasking, trying to squeeze more into every second like life is some kind of contest. We fill every quiet moment with noise because we've been trained to fear stillness, to confuse silence with weakness. But here's the twist nobody talks about. The real power isn't in how fast you move, it's in your ability to stop, to pause, to own the moment before it owns you. Because stillness isn't laziness. It's not doing nothing. It's doing one thing with total presence. It's choosing awareness over autopilot, purpose over pressure, clarity over chaos. Most people suffer more in their imagination than in reality. Seneca. That quote hits hard because it's true. Most people aren't suffering because of what's happening. They're suffering because they never slow down long enough to see what's real and what's just mental static. They react to the world like they're under attack. Every text, every look, every thought, trigger, react, repeat. But you're here for something different. You're here to train a different kind of strength, not the kind that moves fast, the kind that moves with intention. Because in stillness, something changes. Your nervous system calms. Your thoughts slow down. You stop getting dragged by every little thing, and you start seeing clearly. And in that clarity, you become dangerous, not with aggression, not with force, but with presence. The kind of presence that doesn't need to prove itself because it already knows who's in control. Mastering your mind with mental discipline. Most people don't lack talent. They don't lack intelligence. What they lack is control. Not the kind that dominates others, but the kind that governs what's going on inside. Mental discipline. The ability to pause before you speak. To feel without being hijacked. To choose when every part of you wants to react. The Stoics had a name for this rare power, apatheia. Not apathy, not shutting down, but a clear, steady state free from the chaos of emotion ruling your every move. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius. Let that sink in. Imagine no longer needing to win every argument, not feeling triggered every time someone criticizes you, not being dragged around by anxiety, envy, or fear. Imagine hearing your emotions, but not obeying everyone like a command. You feel the anger, the doubt, the urge to lash out, but you don't ride it blindly. You observe it, you study it, and then you choose what to do next. That's not bottling it up, that's mastery. Most people are just reacting, pushed and pulled by everything around them, chained to whatever emotion shouts the loudest in the moment. But you train differently. You don't just have thoughts and feelings, you learn to work with them. You don't chase control over the world. You start by mastering the only battlefield that ever really mattered, yourself. And that's the discipline that doesn't just change your day, it changes your life. How 5 minutes of stillness can rewire you. You don't need a cabin in the woods. You don't need to quit your job or delete your life. You need 5 minutes. 5 minutes to stop chasing, to stop reacting, to just be. No music, no notifications, no trying to fix anything, just you sitting still, listening to the quiet part of your mind, the part that's been drowned out by noise of everything else. This isn't about escaping life. It's not about zoning out or checking out. It's about checking in. Because in that pause, something shifts. Your nervous system stops firing like an alarm. Your breath slows. Your thoughts stop racing like they're late for something. And in that stillness, clarity walks in. You start to see what's actually important and what's just urgency in disguise. You begin to notice your own patterns, the loops you've been running on autopilot for years. Think about it. How often do you give yourself space with no agenda? Not to fix or plan or produce, but just to feel. Because that 5 minutes, that's not nothing. That's you reclaiming your center. That's you practicing presence. That's you building the mental muscle that most people never touch. And here's the truth, most people avoid. If you can't sit with yourself for 5 minutes, you'll struggle to handle the pressure of life for 5 hours. Stillness is the training ground. It's where self-awareness is born. It's where noise meets silence and clarity is forged. 5 minutes, every day. That's the path. Not to escape the storm, but to become calm inside it. Awareness, the Stoic superpower. Ever notice how some people don't say much, but they see everything? They walk into a room and instantly feel if something's off. They don't need words. They read the air, the posture, the hesitation in someone's voice. They sense what others miss. That's not some mystical sixth sense. That's awareness. And in a world that's constantly trying to distract you, awareness is your superpower. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Carl Jung. Let that one breathe. Because most people, they're not making conscious choices. They're playing out scripts they didn't even write. Old habits, buried emotions, inherited beliefs, acting on autopilot and calling it personality. But when you train awareness, you start to catch the signal beneath the noise. You notice your body tense up in certain conversations. You feel your mood shift around specific people. You recognize when your energy drops before you crash. This isn't overthinking, it's real thinking, it's observation over reaction. Awareness is catching the emotion before it spills. It's feeling the tightness in your chest and asking, where is this coming from? Not to judge, not to fix, but just to see. And in that simple act of seeing, you reclaim your power. You're no longer being run by patterns. You're meeting them, naming them, and slowly rewiring them. Because awareness doesn't silence your thoughts. It gives you the space to choose which ones deserve your energy, and that choice, that's your edge. That's what separates the reactive from the steady, the confused from the clear, the average from the aware. You can't control every situation, but with awareness, you never again have to lose yourself in one. Break the loop. Observe before you react. Most people aren't living, they're reacting. They wake up and immediately hand their mind to the world. Phone lights up, news texts, emails, bam, bam, bam. Their nervous system is already in fight or flight before they've even taken a deep breath. And it doesn't stop there. Someone cuts them off in traffic, they snap. A co-worker's tone is off, they spiral. One comment online and they're stewing for hours. No space, no pause, just reaction after reaction like emotional dominoes falling all day long. But here's the hard truth. They think they're thinking. They think they're making choices, but really they're running loops. Old patterns, unconscious responses, scripts written by stress, ego, fear, and never once questioned. That's where observation changes everything. It doesn't mean you stop feeling. It means you stop obeying every feeling like it's a command. Observation says, hold on. What's actually happening here, it's the pause that breaks the loop. It's the breath before the reply. The space where your higher self steps in and says, not this time. That's not hesitation. That's growth. That's evolution. Because the gap between stimulus and response, that's where your power lives. It's not about suppressing your emotions. It's about choosing what to do with them instead of letting them drag you into chaos. Every time you observe instead of react, you're rewiring your brain. You're building a new baseline, one rooted in clarity, not conditioning, and over time, that becomes your default. Not reactivity, but presence. Breathe to take back control. If there's one tool that's always with you, one switch that can shift your entire state, it's your breath. You don't need a guru. You don't need an app. You don't need to sit on a mountaintop in lotus position. What you need is awareness, because your breath is more than air. It's a signal, a bridge between your body and your mind, between chaos and control. When your breath is short and shallow, your body thinks it's under attack. Your heart races. Your muscles tighten. You go into survival mode even if there's no threat around. But when you slow it down, breathe in for 4, breathe out for 6. Something shifts. Your nervous system hears the message, we're safe now, and it listens. Your mind clears. Your heart rate steadies. You stop spiraling and start grounding. That's not just wellness. That's strategy. The Stoics didn't need brain scans to tell them this. They felt it. They knew that the path to mastering the mind started with calming the body. Nowhere you can go is more peaceful, more free of interruptions than your own soul. Marcus Aurelius. But how do you get there? Start with the breath, not to escape life, but to face it with presence. When everything around you feels like it's spinning, when emotions are high pressures mounting and your thoughts are racing, your breath is still there, steady, anchored, ready. It's not flashy, it's not dramatic, but it's powerful, because whoever controls the breath controls the moment, and that moment is everything. You are not your thoughts. Find inner freedom. There's a voice in your head, and it never seems to stop. It comments on everything. It rewinds the past. It plays out worst-case scenarios of the future. It whispers self-doubt in your quiet moments and screams over your confidence when you're trying to rise. And the wild part, it sounds like you, but it's not. That voice is a mashup, a collection of old fears, cultural noise, emotional scars, and things people said to you when you were too young to question them. It's habit, it's memory, it's programming. People don't have ideas. Ideas have people. Carl Jung. And until you realize that you'll keep following those thoughts like they're gospel, letting them drive your choices, shape your identity, control your emotions. But here's the shift. You don't need to fight your thoughts. You don't need to argue with them. You just need to observe them. Like clouds drifting across the sky. You watch, you notice, you don't grab hold, because you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. You are the stillness that sees the storm without becoming it. That's not detachment out of coldness. That's detachment out of wisdom. It's choosing not to believe every story your mind spins, especially the ones soaked in fear or shame. You don't have to react to every inner impulse. You don't have to prove every voice wrong. You simply have to stay present and let the noise pass through. And when you do that, something profound happens. You stop identifying with the storm and remember, you've always been the sky. Stillness is not weakness. It's the ground beneath your feet when everything around you is shaking. Awareness isn't hesitation. It's precision. It's the space between impulse and action where wisdom lives. And discipline, it's not about control. It's about freedom. Freedom from the noise, from the emotional loops, from the invisible scripts trying to run your life. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Epictetus. This path is quiet. It won't turn heads. It won't flood your inbox with praise, but it will make you unshakable, grounded, clear, dangerous in the best way. Because when the world pulls at every thread in you, your greatest power will always be your ability to return to yourself. Calm, present, untouchable. If this message resonated with you, if it reminded you of your deeper self, the one that's been waiting to lead, subscribe, like, share this with someone who needs it. You never know who's standing on the edge, who just needs a nudge, a word, a breath to come back to themselves. The next video will take you deeper. Your path begins now.